I never thought the quiet morning I woke up to would end with me standing on my old ranch hill, hands on my knees, panting like a man twice my age, while the HOA board members screamed my name from across a freshly sliced road I had just carved straight across the canal. They dug through my land. The dust from my bulldozer still floated in the air, hanging over the water like the earth itself didn't know whose side to take. Linda Carver, the HOA president, stood at the far end of the canal, eyes wide, her mouth moving, but her voice failing to come out. The other board members rushed behind her, trying to climb over the muddy edges they had created just 2 days earlier. They looked like ants running from a flood they caused themselves. Then Linda finally found her voice. "George Harper, what have you done?" I wiped sweat from my forehead, still breathing hard, my bulldozer engine hissing behind me. The fresh tire marks across the canal glistened like a scar, but I didn't answer her. The real question wasn't about what I'd done, but what they had done to me first, and what was coming next. Now, before I get ahead of myself, let me ask you, where are you watching from? And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. My name is George Harper, and I'm 72 years old. I walk slower than I used to, talk only when needed, and I mind my own business. My ranch sits on land that's been in my family for over 100 years. My father grew cattle here. My grandfather planted pecan trees that still stand near the west fence line. I always believe that if you treat people with respect, keep peace where you can, and live with kindness, life will return the favor. But the HOA didn't believe that. The trouble started the day Linda became president of the HOA. She had big plans, real big plans, plans that meant taking control of everything. People's fences, their gardens, their driveways, even the color of their curtains. Folks used to joke that Linda didn't run the HOA. She was the HOA. But I stayed out of her way. I didn't live in the fancy houses across the main road. My ranch sat behind them. Open land, green fields, horses, and wide skies. I paid no HOA fees, signed no HOA contracts, and lived my life just like I always had. But that didn't stop them from coming. One warm afternoon, I saw a group of HOA board members standing near the edge of my land. At first, I thought maybe they lost a dog or were admiring the sunset. I believe in assuming the best before assuming the worst, so I walked over with a friendly smile. "Howdy," I said. They didn't even smile back. Linda stepped forward with a clipboard. "Mr. Harper, the HOA has decided to construct a new drainage canal." "Sounds important," I said, nodding. "Yes," she replied sharply, "and it will run right through this section of your ranch." I blinked. "To my ranch? To my private land?" "Yes, it is necessary for the neighborhood's water flow plan." I chuckled politely, thinking she was joking. "Ma'am, this ranch has handled water just fine since before any of these houses were built." But she didn't laugh. Instead, she tapped her clipboard. "The decision has already been made." For a moment, I stood quietly, studying her. She was younger, maybe in her mid-40s, with sharp glasses and a voice that always seemed to stand on its toes. She had the look of someone who had never stepped in mud before, but wanted to control every inch of land around her. I tried kindness first. "Look," I said calmly, "I'm sure you mean well, but this land belongs to me. You don't have any say over it." Linda's chin lifted. "Actually, we do. The HOA bylaws state." "No," I interrupted gently. "Your bylaws stop at the neighborhood boundary. My ranch isn't part of your neighborhood." I expected her to back down. Instead, she stared at me like I had challenged her throne. "We will proceed," she said. And that's when I knew the real fight had started. A few days later, I woke up to the sound of construction machines. At first, I thought it was thunder. But no, this was the sound of engines digging into soil. When I stepped outside, I saw them, construction trucks, workers, and excavators digging a long line through the lower part of my land, through my ranch. Without permission. My hands trembled, not from fear, but disbelief. I walked down with my cane tapping the ground. "Turn those machines off," I shouted. The workers froze. They weren't bad people. They were just doing what the HOA hired them to do. The foreman jogged over to me, helmet crooked, sweat trickling down his cheek. "Sir, the HOA gave us approval," he said, showing me the paperwork. "That's not their land," I said firmly. and they don't have approval from me." The man frowned. "Sir, if you have an issue, please take it up with the HOA. We were told everything was cleared." I breathed deeply. Anger solves nothing. My father always said, "Speak softly when you can. Fight only when you must." So I tried to fix things peacefully. I went straight to the HOA office. When I got there, they were sipping coffee, sitting at their desks like they hadn't just invaded someone's property. Linda sat at the head of the table. "You dug a canal through my ranch," I said, keeping my voice steady. She looked up with a calm smile. "Yes, we told you we would. You had no right." "We have every right," she said. "The neighborhood's water system backs up every rainy season. Your land is the lowest point. The canal will help everyone except me," I replied. Linda folded her arms. "Mr. Harper, you have plenty of land. A small canal shouldn't bother you." It wasn't the canal. It was the disrespect. The sense that she believed age made me weak or quiet meant powerless. But I kept my calm. "You will remove that canal," I said. "Fill it back up." "Impossible," Linda said simply. "The work is already in progress." Just like that, she dismissed me, as if I were a child, as if my land meant nothing, as if my family's legacy, my home, my memories could be cut through with a machine and she could walk away untouched. That night, I sat on my porch thinking. My horses grazed in the distance. The old pecan trees swayed gently. And inside me, something shifted. When people step on your kindness, you stand up slowly, maybe but firmly. Respect is a two-way road. They dug a canal through my ranch. So I began a plan. The next morning, one of the young HOA board members, a man named Evan, came by the ranch. He looked nervous, like he didn't want anyone to see him talking to me. "Mr. Harper," he whispered, "I'm sorry. I voted against digging the canal, but Linda overruled everyone." I nodded. "Thank you. It means something to hear. At least one person cares." He sighed. "She wants control. She doesn't care who she steps on. But I think she underestimates you." I smiled faintly. "Most people do." He returned a small smile before leaving. It was a quiet moment, a softer one. Proof that not everyone in the HOA was bad. Some were just afraid. Life is full of folks like that. Good hearts trapped in the wrong crowd. But the peace didn't last long, because by the next day, the canal stretched halfway across my ranch, deep, ugly, slicing the land into two uneven parts. They were preparing to line it with concrete to make it permanent. Permanent. That was the word that lit the fire in my chest. My ranch had been whole for generations. But now the HOA had cut it apart like they were cutting meat for dinner. And Linda stood at the edge of the trench, supervising, smiling proudly like she had achieved something great. That's when I knew kindness wouldn't solve this. Action would. But not shouting, not fighting, not going to court. No, something better, something louder, something they would never forget. For 2 nights straight, I didn't sleep much. I sat at my kitchen table with a notebook and a cup of black coffee, sketching out ideas like a man planning a heist. My old bulldozer sat behind the barn, rusted in some places, worn in others, but still strong like me. If they wanted to divide my ranch, then I would divide their plans. I would make a road across their canal. A road so clear, so bold, so undeniable that no fancy paper, no HOA rule book, no loud voice behind a meeting table could erase it. My land, my right. But I couldn't do it while they worked. That would cause trouble, risks, maybe hurt someone, and I wasn't raised that way. So I waited. On the 3rd night, after the workers left and the land fell quiet, I climbed onto my bulldozer. The engine growled to life like an old friend waking from a deep sleep. The headlights cut through the darkness. I drove toward the canal. My heart thumped with fear, hope, and the steady beat of a man reclaiming his dignity. The blade hit the soil. The first push sent dirt pouring into the trench. The second push carved a path. The third created a rising ramp. And then I pushed forward, cutting a wide road straight across the water-filled canal the HOA had carved. Earth flew. Mud splashed. The machine roared, and by sunrise I had done it. A brand new road lay across the canal, clean, wide, strong, connecting the two halves of my ranch once more. And that's when Linda and the board arrived, their mouths hanging open as if they were watching someone tear down their entire kingdom.